In this video, I'm meeting with Walter Gloshinski, who is the founder of Smiling with Hope Pizza and also the creator of Spontobeat. And Spontobeat is creating music, and once you're done, you're done. It's totally spontaneous, totally originally, totally very cool. And you can hear some of it right here. So, without further ado, here's Walter's story. It's a really interesting one. He started playing music in the streets of New York and really took it all around the country. And with it, he took his pizza skills and baking skills. So here's Walter's story, and I know you're going to really enjoy it. Albert Grande here. I'm talking to my old buddy, Walter Tor. And Walter, you have just an incredible story, with your own music stuff, which you started, your pizza business, which you continued, your special being a special ed teacher, and then, moving to Reno with your massive Smiling with Hope pizza, which, the mission is just phenomenal.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
I always like to ask this, what are your earliest memories of pizza?
My earliest memories of pizza is my mother doing pizza in a pan and being in a pizzeria and hearing the oven doors.
Wow. Yeah.
That and I always looked at those pizza guys like, man, that's a job. That's a job I would want that job. Yeah.
Okay. And so how did that happen? How did you get into making pizza?
Um, well, my mother, we had such good pizza where I grew up
And
outside of Newark, New Jersey,
right.
that I just ate, and it was cheap. And I had enough money to get some. We had pies and things, but a guy opened up he came from Italy, Alfredo, and he rented this little like a countertop with a few stools sitting up on it on the stool, cafe, and he was a one-man show. He did pizza, he did espresso, cappuccino, and that was his business, man.
Yeah.
That was it. He did everything. And he never used a gas oven, so he had to figure out a gas oven. He actually roasted his beans in the oven, his coffee beans. And I just started hanging out there. And he was a cool guy. And we got on, and he never paid me anything, but I hung out and I learned and I caught his vibe, I caught his energy and I just kept going with it into but then music derailed me, or I don't want to say derailed me, but music pulled me
Okay.
from birth. And that
Yep.
was what I was always wanting to do. Everything else was sort of, okay, but I want to be a musician.
Yep.
So that kind of consumed me. And the positive byproduct of that in dough was not money. It was, I worked with dough. I got jobs. I wasn't a drug addict. I was reliable. Um, So I would get jobs working with dough in bakeries. I really didn't work in a lot of pizzerias because I didn't like them after once I left New Jersey.
Sure.
The pizza to me was no interest. But I worked in a lot of really good bakeries and I learned other things about dough and things. And then I just made monkey with it at home and um, actually never got paid to work in a pizzeria. I would
Wow.
in New Jersey, but I was gone.
Yep.
I was gone. I hit the road when I was like 18 with my guitar and harmonica, just in my thumb. And every pizza I encountered on my journey was I'd rather eat bumblebee tuna, in the can. Yeah, no offense against the other.
Yeah.
It's just not a taste of home for me.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I worked in bakeries and I fiddled with things and yeah, so it was just putting all the parts together and being in pizza uh, what's the word? Being in places that didn't have pizza like I was used to, I had to figure out how to make my own.
As
And,
as
and that was
I did myself
before,
and many friends did as well. Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
without pizza stones and um, recipe books and no internet, just
Yes.
yeah. So anyway, in bakeries, I would fiddle with the dough and make pizzas, and yeah, it was a good thing. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. So your pizza journey and your music journey. Now, you're all right. You leave in Jersey. You hit
yeah.
the road. You're hitchhiking. So where did you end up? Somehow you ended up in Texas.
Well, I ended up in a lot of places. First, I went to New York City because that was just a drive across the river. We were 15 minutes from Manhattan.
Yep.
So I started hitting, in high school, cut class and I take the train from my town to Penn Station, Newark, and then the PATH train into Manhattan. I walk around Greenwich Village. I'd hang out. I'd go to all these little shops that aren't there anymore. Little bookstores, little cafes, little one-off independent operators, probably pulling in barely rent money. And now the rent's probably 20 grand a month on the building.
Sure.
And I hang out at Washington Square Park. I just meet people and the music. I had a band in Jersey and it was doing great, made good money. Had a woman who was mob connected. Everything was mob connected with entertainment. And she booked me in clubs and I was making good money. But I go across the river to New York and I'd have to park if I drove and pay the toll and the gas. You make $5. It's
Yep.
like I was making, sometimes grand a night in Jersey playing clubs. So I said, who needs New York? So I kind of burn out on New York City. Plus the musicians then, it wasn't like New York now where you can't find a New Yorker. It was deep in New York. So when they heard Jersey, oh my God, what a wasteland. Who would leave
Yep.
there? I'd say, screw you, man. Um, so New York was good, but I moved on and long story short, a woman thing, I ended up in Phoenix, Arizona, and Ohio, Southern Ohio first with the woman, then Phoenix, and then I went out to the West Coast. Had a friend living up in Sonoma County, and I stayed in a commune until they kicked me out because I really didn't want to be in the commune. I just wanted the free bed.
Sure.
And I was pushing my music. And the woman who was booking me in Jersey, I walked out on my band for this woman in Phoenix, and she was smoked because I was the front man. And my bass player I called him, what's up? He said, don't come back to Jersey. You're gonna have your legs broke. So I hid out for like 2 years up in Northern California. I grew my hair long, a mustache. I thought she was gonna have me killed. But then I got the word I could come back. And then she used to book me whenever I'd come back through town. But I ended up in Sonoma County, California, which was hippies then, and music everywhere, man. Music everywhere. And I played a club called Zerbino's. And the owner, Joel, was from New York. And he had two guys from my hometown. They didn't really know how to make pizza, but they had the accent and everything. So I played that club and I'd sort of eat pizza. So yeah, pizza was always somewhere in the orbit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Sonoma County was a great place, man. I loved it. I met my wife there 46 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was living dangerously. I was living in a house that it was the first stop north from San Quentin. They give you the bus ticket. Santa Rosa was the first stop. And this house was known because they had connections to needles and things. And the Hells Angels can't ride carrying. So they would come there and do their trips and things. And this is the house I lived in. And it was heavy, man. I'm lucky I'm still alive. And I met Judy and she said, how could you live here? I said, it's $20 a month. And she said, you got to get out of here. I said, I play my music. I don't got to do nothing. Uh, well, this guy almost killed you last night. I go, well, I got $20 rent. So she told me move in and I did. And we've been together ever since.
All right. Another pizza love story,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. No,
amazing.
her idea of pizza, man, it's the dump truck, the
Right.
California pizza, dump a truckload of toppings on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't eat it. She took me to her favorite place, and I said,
Yeah.
no can do.
Yeah. Yeah. But, to jump ahead in the story a little bit, you got certified as a special ed teacher. You went back to school,
Yeah, when
correct?
I was basing my band out of Austin, Texas, Austin was the only town besides Europe that embraced my spontaneous music. And I was considered, I guess, a character of Austin, colorful character. And I got to play in probably the most famous club in Texas, the Black Cat Lounge, only held 80 people. But the owner, he had no calendar, he had no phone, he had a record player. And if you had a record, he'd put it on, he'd listen to it and tell you, okay, come tonight, or no, I don't like it. And we would, he liked mine. I had a record I brought from when I came from Europe. And then we moved to Austin. He put my record on for like 2 seconds. And I go, oh man, I'm done. He goes, be here tonight at 10 o'clock. And I get there. And Evan Johns, I don't know if you ever heard of him, Evan Johns and the H Bombs. Evan was one of the big three heli guys, Danny Gatton, Roy Buchanan, and Evan.
Wow.
And Paul went up to him and said, you're done, Evan. This guy's taking over. And Evan, in his Virginia, man, you're taking the meal out of my family, man. This is going, I ain't going hungry, man. So me and Evan almost got into it, but we became best friends. And I ended up playing in that club for like 7 years. And on Friday nights, we would often start at 10 and end at 5 in the morning. And everybody came in there. Willie Nelson came in one night and wanted to sit in. And the owner ran up to him, and he ran a used restaurant supply to finance his club. He ran up to Willie and said, Willie, I like your guitar, but I don't like your singing. You can't sing in my club. Willie's eyes bugged and he left out. Other night, Joan Baez is in there. She just finished a show, and I asked her up, and she says, no, man, I'm just grooving. We had bands. Um, Neil Young and all those guys wore the Black Cat Lounge T-shirts the Farm Aid one year. So then
Yeah.
all the buses would stop at this little club that held 80 people, and they'd sit in, and oh, it was a joy. And then I found the guy who was opening for us. He told me I just got this great job as an aide in a special ed classroom. I said, what kind of degree you need? He said, high school. I said, I got that. And it took me a year to get the gig because I guess my resume didn't look so good. I kept bugging them. And they finally let me in. And I discovered real quick that I didn't want to be an aide. I wanted to run my own classroom.
Sure.
So that pushed me to go to college. And so I went to college down there in Texas and taught at Austin for a couple of years and put my thing right to work from day one, bakery,
Yep. Yep.
because kids I worked with couldn't function. I mean, I had done years on the other side, outside of the academia school thing, and they don't function. They can't. I wouldn't hire any of them for a job that I could hire you for.
Right.
So I said, what can I train them for? And I went ahead and that's what I started, 25 years of putting a program together like that. And that took me around too.
So, I mean, what you did was train them in all aspects of pizza, of food,
Of life, of
of
how to
life.
function, how to say, hello, Albert, how are you today? How to act in public so people don't look at you like you're weird or why are they here? Get rid of them. Um, and put it together. In Texas, we left Texas because it was too hot. And I said, Judy didn't like the heat. I didn't either, but I was playing, and the Black Cat Lounge wasn't air conditioned, man. You can imagine that in the summer with 80 people packed in a space that could hold like 30. It was hot, man. Your guitar would short out from the sweat. But we left. He said, music scene in Austin started dying around 1995. Now it's just Disneyland, like
Yep.
Times Square or something,
Yep.
So the clubs I could play were not there, and it was just drying up. So we said, let's go back to California. I got a teaching credential. Then we went back to Sonoma County, and I got a job in Santa Rosa, and I started up my bakery program right up. And we did unbelievable. We won awards, national TV, all that stuff. And then they shut it down because I wouldn't teach them academics.
Right.
I said, I'm not going to, they cry when I teach them academics. Why would I make them cry? They get
Sure.
happy when we do this stuff. And we had a circuit, man. We were right downtown. We would go into the $1 million lawyer's office and sell them baked goods. Then we would go to the record store and sell them baked goods. We even went to the pot dispensary until my principal said, you got to stop doing that. Uh,
Uh,
we went to every kind of business. So they got to know all walks of people. The Catholic shelter for Sister Marie, we made her like 2 dozen apple pies every week. We worked in food pantries, sorting things. We worked all day, and then they shut it down. So I said, to heck with that. I'm out of here. And a musician friend of mine told me about this little town in Ohio. And he said, there's a real poor town next to it. And I think you would like that poor town. It's Appalachian. So we just drove there with everything. And I just got an interview, and the special ed director hired me, and they were building a new high school. And I designed a commercial 2,000 square foot kitchen,
wow.
all infrastructure there. They said, how are you going to support this? I BS'd them in my jersey. Man, I know everything about this and all this and that. And I didn't know what I was talking about. I can make stuff, but I didn't never market it or anything. And I had no equipment. They said, we give you a hood, we give you the sinks, but we can't give you much else. So I went to my promoting that I learned from having my own band, my own record label, all that stuff. And I just started promoting to the community, the wealthy town that we ended up living in. And they were so excited to support it. I got a woman that was an heir to the Columbus Dispatch, and she supported me, no questions asked, whatever I needed. And she said, I'm giving it to you because I don't want the schools to have it because they'll throw
Yep.
it in the garbage when you go.
Yep.
And we ended up serving about 10,000 people a week. And we did restaurants, cafes, Denison University. We worked with Bon Appetit, who were the chefs there, because the wealthy new Northeastern families that sent their kids to this little college couldn't relate to the food. So they wanted real chefs in there. So they hired Bon Appetit. And we did everything dough for them. We did pastries, pizza dough. We did school districts, 2 school districts. I developed a organic with the Amish chocolate chip cookie that met the Michelle Obama wellness law for the schools. And the Nabisco version and all that, they were like hockey pucks. Couldn't even eat
Yep.
them.
Yep.
And mine, they loved. So we were selling 15,000 cookies a week, frozen for 12 cents, a little 2 ounce cookie,
Yep.
or 20 cents baked.
Wow.
And man, we did that. We did cafes, we did restaurants, we did the university, we did 2 school districts. We got on the map, man. We got on the map nationally
You
with that.
certainly did. And
And
that's where I
then
heard about you,
oh,
what you were
okay.
doing at that school, which was pretty
Wow,
amazing.
thank you.
But
Yeah, we had Maria Shriver wrote a big article on us. But then the same thing happened. They said, you got to start teaching these kids academics. I got
yeah,
10 years there of brew. And I said, Judy, I don't have another one in me. This will be my third move. No, first, second, fourth move on schools. I'm done. Let's open our own pizzeria
right. Okay.
because we were making pizza there too. We were selling pizza. We had a little dining area in our classroom. Um, People would come in from the community and buy them for their businesses and all kinds of stuff. We do catering things. So we said, where are we going to go? And Judy said, well, Rena, we want to go back to Sonoma County, but a manhole cover cost you $1 million there.
Sure.
So Judy said, Reno's pretty cool. So I came out in the summer, spent a week, had a god job with a commercial realtor who was born and raised here. and his family is one of the founding families of Reno. They own the original shopping mall um, in Reno. Now it's a real hip place, like the market up in Seattle. They did it all up. But anyway, he knew every building. He could tell me, oh, that one, no, you don't want to be there because of this, you know, blah, blah. And he had a special needs nephew. And we hit it off and we found a spot. And my food distributor, Saladino's, that I found out about, the rep, he played football at UNR,
Yep.
and his buddy played with him in the 70s and played for the 49ers. And he was the chef at the Prospectors Club, which is you got to be somebody in Nevada to get in there. And they do lunches, deals are made and whatnot. He has an autistic stepson. So he came in and he worked with us from when he got done, and he just did lunch. He come in around 4 and he worked with us till we were done. And he was 65 at the time, wouldn't take a
Wow.
dime.
Wow.
Unbelievable chef, knew everybody who's anybody, brought more people into our pizzeria from Reno and around the world. Um, and just a very, things came together here like a perfect crash of good.
Yep.
Everything, all my life with music, whoa, miss, here, miss, almost, oh, hit for a week, hit for a year. Reno, bam, we made it. Took only about
Wow.
60 years, you know, but we got here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we're talking your place, Smiling with Hope Pizza. And I think that what sets Smiling with Hope Pizza apart is that, staffed by special needs students, and again, learning life skills, being part of an actual business.
Yeah, but we didn't see people, you know, as when you have a child with special needs, there's a lot of shame in that. There's a lot of denial.
Yes.
And so it's not a common subject. So if you're not involved in the field, you really don't know much about it. So people would come in and say, yeah, you got special needs people here. We're so excited. Why aren't they making pizza? And I said, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a lawyer. I said, would you hire them for your legal secretary?
Right.
No. I said, well, unfortunately, if I was to have them make pizza, I'd still be working on my first pizza to come out
Sure.
right.
Sure.
So they did things that they could do. We had a guy, Josh, he was with us 6 years. He had cerebral palsy. He was in a walker. He walked with a walker, and he had cognitive impairments. And he was eating lunch, and that's how I would find people. I would sit down with him for a minute because they knew people had heard it was for special needs, and we advertised you could bring your autistic kid here that yells and screams, and nobody's going to get uptight.
Yep.
You could relax. You could have a meal without worrying about people vibing you out or saying, "Get this kid out of here. He's
Yeah.
making too much noise."
Yeah.
Or he's throwing his food. What? So our customer base was developed on that. And I would interview these people and I'd interview their family. So I cherry picked the ones that had supportive families, had transportation, that had good attitudes, because I didn't have the time to train them like I did when I was a teacher.
Sure. No, of
So,
course. Of course.
and Josh had his walker. He was suicidal. He was 40 years old. He said he can't find a job. He loses everyone, but he'll try with us. And he walked from the bus half a mile with his walker, wouldn't take a ride. It's like he was driving his car, going to work. And he would greet people. He would wipe down menus. He never even got to the back of the pizzeria in the kitchen because his balance and walker were just is too dangerous.
Yep.
But he did that. And then we had Larry, who was a autistic dishwasher. And we had 3 sinks. Not I didn't want a machine. I wanted them to wash. So Larry was better than any machine dishwasher. And he would, when he got done with his dishes, he could draw and he'd draw superheroes. And during COVID, he saved us all because he kept doing that coronavirus ball
Yep.
and he
Yep.
was zapping them with Superman and Spider-Man. And he saved the world. And birthdays, oh, he loved birthdays. He would sing happy birthday and sit down. Uh, his family was from the Philippines. They were so supportive. And we loved him. And we had 35 people work there, but 2 of them stuck.
Wow.
Yeah, for
Wow.
our whole tenure, pretty
Wow.
much.
Wow.
And it was sad when we left. Um, it was just sad. That was the saddest part about leaving the pizzeria. Um, we created a vibe that doesn't exist anymore. People say, "Why don't you go to Pizza Expo? You could compete. You might win." I said, "Well, I'd have to close my shop." What do you
Right.
mean close your shop? I make every pizza. I make every dough. I make every prep. I shop in the morning. Nobody made, in our whole time there, nobody made a pizza. Nobody opened and closed that oven but me.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that. And that was a model that doesn't exist. And if you're going to be in that circle, you got to be away from your shop more
Yes.
times than not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not interested in eating Albert's pizza unless Albert's making it.
Right. Right.
I don't want no teenager that was trained 2 days ago and now he's Albert's pizza. No, I want Albert's pizza.
Yeah.
And that's what connected me with Norma because we both shared the same vision and we both lived in isolation because we could never be in the circle with the big boys.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
We
and
could,
if I may, I mean, people may not know who Norma is. Norma is a wonderful woman from Pennsylvania who had like a little pizza store, a little, it was kind of at a farmer's market, a little stall. And she decided to compete with the big boys. And, and
yeah,
these are the best pizza makers in the world. She went and won the Caputo Cup. I mean, that is just what a story in and of itself. And
yeah.
so she's
Norma
became,
was the best.
yes,
I had her pizza. I was at her shop. She was at my shop in Ohio. She came to my classroom. And man, if I had to eat Norma's pizza every day, I'd be satisfied.
yep,
I'd be okay
yep,
with not making pizza. But I grew up with like Alfredo, the guy I told you about. He'd get there at 6 in the morning. He made me write a sign because he didn't read and write English. He spoke some. He'd open up at 8 a.m. and the construction workers would come in to get coffee, but they didn't want to wait for an espresso. These were American guys.
sure.
They wanted the American coffee. And Alfredo had me write a sign. You have to excuse my language. It says, "I hate this fucking machine." And it's only open from 8 to 8:30 for the construction guys.
Right.
And the rest of the day, if he was making a cappuccino for you and you came in and bugged, you said, "Excuse me," he'd say nothing. And if you said, "Hey," he'd say, "Get out of my shop. I'm making my cappuccino." That was art to him.
Yep.
And I learned a lot about that I worked in a deli called Town Hall Deli in South Orange. They created the original sloppy Joe. That's not the hamburger meat. You have to look it up. We shipped them all over the world back in the 70s when I worked there, and with a frozen 6 pack of soda as our ice pack. And we lived in a wealthy town. Dionne Warwick, Willis Reed from the Knicks, Don Kirshner, they all lived in my town. They would send their chauffeurs down to get food. People from New York City, God, the names that came in with their chauffeur driven limb, they didn't come. They'd send their help for their parties and stuff for these sloppy Joes. And they had $1 million wine cellar in the basement. And Freddie, the original owner, was 86 years old. And I was like his personal assistant. I was like his robot. Pick this up, move this, do that. Dude worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I learned that that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want anybody making my pizza. I
Yep.
didn't want anybody messing with my dough, my mixer. I didn't want anybody knowing my recipe. I'm completely 180 of pizza today, share the craft. The guys that share the craft are making money sharing the craft. If I share the craft, all I do is give it away.
Yeah.
I don't make any
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So I never jived with the scene. And I really didn't want any trophies because I would sell out of dough every day. I had a great local base that if I didn't like you, get out of my shop.
Sure.
If you got a suggestion, I don't want to hear it. I make the pizza I love and you take it or leave it. And I
Yep.
don't mean that as an ego thing. I mean that as I do what inspires me. And that's what inspires me, I make. And thank God enough people liked what I made that we made it. Because my friend, the realtor who helped me so much, he was worried. He goes, man, this is a 24/7 town here. You know, you got to be open. You got to have a lot of this and that.
Yeah.
I'm worried you're not going to make it. And he used to come in and go, man, I'm so, you guys, you're breaking the mold here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, and my wife worked with me side by side. She did the books. He ran the register. Simplest menu probably in the United States. And all you hear on the phone is saying, no, 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 you know, we don't have this, we don't have that. No, no, we don't deliver. No, we don't do DoorDash. No, we don't um, have booze. Um, no,
What
we,
was your simple menu? What was the simplest menu that you
the
had? Your
simplest
pizza
menu
menu?
was one dough ball
Yep.
that I used for a New York and a Sicilian.
Yep.
Okay. A house salad that used all our ingredients from our toppings except cherry tomatoes. We sliced those for the salad.
Yep.
One house made dressing that I developed and made. That's it. Pizza, one dough ball, same dough for our 16-inch New York and our 12 by 12 Sicilian. Toppings, fresh garlic, ricotta, mozzarella, tomato sauce, onions, peppers, black olives, fresh basil, mushrooms, sausage that I made. My grandfather, he was Italian meat maker, his sausage recipe, and pepperoni. That was our whole menu.
Yep.
And a chocolate chip cookie that I made for dessert, and my grandmother's cannoli recipe. That was our whole menu, and soda and water. Because where I grew up, you had to have a liquor license, which cost, if your bar was worth 10 grand, you'd sell it for 3 million because there's
Yep.
only X amount of liquor licenses. They
Sure.
don't make new ones.
Sure.
In Nevada, you just go down to town hall, boom, you got a liquor license in 120 minutes. So I didn't want to sell booze because I didn't want any drugs and alcohol in my shop. I've been
Yep.
around that in music. I wanted old school. We had Pellegrino water, Pellegrino soda, and the basic Pepsi stuff in cans. And that was it. That was our
Yep.
whole menu.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And smiling with Hope Pizza again, in spite of yourself, you became very famous, and people picked up on it. And I think which is phenomenal. I mean, you were getting all kinds of reviews. People are loving you. You're getting voted the best pizza in America. Uh, without you're not out there trying to toot your own horn or anything. I mean, people just discovered you. You're working hard. You're doing what you do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we never spent one dime on advertising, not one dime. I let the product talk and let the word spread. And we had people flying in. If they were going to San Francisco from Germany, they would deviate to Reno to eat our pizza. We
Yep.
had private jets coming in to eat our pizza. We had Paulie G came out with his family to eat our pizza. Um, and that was all nice. But we had the regular families that came in and we watched the babies be born. We watched the marriages. We watched the funerals. Um, when, if you were sick and so came in and we knew you lived near them, we'd say, here, bring this to them. We make
Yep.
a pizza.
Sure.
And if you came in and forgot your credit card, oh, let me go home and get it. No, man. We just put this thing on the bulletin board and you
Yep.
pay it. You come back tomorrow, you come back next year,
Yep.
whenever. You're a regular. We don't want your pizza to get cold.
Yeah. Sure.
And
Sure.
I swear to God, Albert, this is no lie. We, I burned a couple pies. So they had to wait 10 minutes for another one. But that was the longest wait you ever had in our shop.
Yep.
We sold out of dough before we opened. So I had a system where I could give it to Judy windows of time with so many pizzas. And then I could get them in the oven made, get them out, give the oven a few minutes to recover. I had two ovens and boom, 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 boom. And man, people would come in See, it always sounds good. Oh, you sold out. That's incredible. Well, that is incredible. But the downside is somebody comes in and goes, I came all the way from St. Louis,
Yeah, sure.
but I don't have any dough. And you know what happened most of the time? One of our customers would say, come sit with us. We eat every day here. We eat every week.
Yeah,
Have our
right.
pizza. No, no, no. But sometimes people just, they'd walk in, or we'd see them walk by the front window. And we had a patio, seat 20. Go see him sit down. Judy go out there and ask him, did you order pizza? No. What do you mean? Why, you're just opening? Judy said, did you see the website? Yeah. Did you listen to the answer machine? Yeah. No, you didn't, because the website said you had a call between 3 and 4. And if the answer machine's on, we're out of dough. And we sold out of dough sometimes by 3:30.
Wow.
And
And how many pizzas was that approximately?
it depended, when I was pushing, it could be 100 a day.
Yeah,
That's a lot of pizza for one
that's a
little
lot of
guy to
pizza for
make.
one guy. Yeah, sure it is.
Yeah. And I had some kids helping me. They put the toppings on and they cut them. But I stretch every dough. I put the sauce on, I put the dust it with the cheese, and I would help them with the toppings if I had time. But we cherry picked kids from UNR who were paying their own way that had old school values.
Yeah,
And man, these have gone on to be doctors. One works for Time Warner Manhattan now, making six figures. Nurses. Uh, we've we've had 7 or 8 of these kids that could come in our shop when we were doing lunch. They would do lunch, then between lunch and dinner, there was a break, and they would do their homework. They didn't have to work at McDonald's in the morning and Starbucks in the afternoon.
yeah,
And they were making between $30 and $35 an hour with us. So they were able to get through UNR with no debt.
yeah,
And these are kids that checked their cell phone off. I told them, when I'm talking to people, I'm the owner. You're working. You don't talk, you work. And some people thought I was like Gestapo because they were just head down working. Because I showed them how I wanted everything done. And when they handed it to me with the toppings, I looked at it. And if it was wrong, it didn't go in the oven. And when it came out of the oven, I saw it. And when Judy gave it to the customer, she saw it. So we really didn't have any screw ups.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it was an unbelievable system that I wish somebody would want to replicate someday. But young people, they're all caught up in, let's have 6 pizzerias, let's have 45
yeah,
styles, let's
sure.
have, 60, 100,000 employees. They don't realize at the end of the day, unless you're a really big time operator that knows their P's and Q's, you might gross $1 million, but you might put 20 grand in your pocket.
Yeah,
We were making more money in our pocket than most of the people with big shops
sure.
because we were running at a 50% profit margin. I had less than $10 a week in food waste. It was, I did most of the labor. Judy did most of the labor. It was unbelievable. And we had people in the community that had culinary, like Mark the chef and other people. They would come in. I had the best chefs in town come in and help me, just want to hang out. When I had my hips replaced, we closed for 3 months, and people were coming in with cards, giving us cards, giving us cards. We had over $10,000 in those cards. And every card that had money in it said, if you need more, just let us know. We do not want
Wow.
you to close.
Yeah,
And while I was recovering, we had 3 of the top chefs. One is a cooks for Zuckerberg. One, the other 2 top restaurants in town. They came to my house with pots and pans and food and cooked and ate with Judy and I. Customers came, made stuff, hung out. We had a real, like I grew up, a family neighborhood thing. Not, you weren't number 42. We didn't
yeah,
give you a little beeper that beeped when your pizza was done. No, we knew your name. We knew your emotional things. We knew your spiritual things. And we created like a little clubhouse of like minds. And we were fortunate enough to have Hillary Clinton like my pizza because we were a swing state. And one of my friends worked with the campaign in Reno, and I'd make pizzas and just give them to him, and she liked the pizza. And pretty soon, all the volunteers that were coming in from California to go door to door, we gave them 1 day a week. They come in the afternoon when nobody was there, so they could live in peace and
Yep.
eat. And then Hillary had me introduce a rally with my special needs kids. Um, we did a town hall meeting with Tom Steyer for keeping the world green. I I did an editorial that went nationwide about small businesses being eradicated, and that brought death threats on us because I was not a Trump supporter.
Yep.
And they would come in my shop and tell me to put signs up, and I tell them no, and they got on me. And a couple times I thought I was going to have to do some serious body damage on me or them. Uh,
Yeah. No, I hear
I,
you. I hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. So
No.
if you were for Trump, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you like
Yeah.
dominoes, go somewhere else. We
Yeah.
created a nice little beautiful pond here, and we're going to keep it pristine.
Yeah, it's your shop. I mean, you control who comes in and fire the customers if they're going against what you do.
Oh yeah, I had one guy. He was in a Mercedes, biggest Mercedes you could get. Looked like one of them armored car things that the Arabs use and stuff. Uh, he pulled up. It was 10 to 5. I had just finished the 5 o'clock run of pizzas. They're ready to go. Maybe 5 to 5 for the 5 o'clock pickup. And I had ones in the oven. I saw him pull up, so I ran out there, and he wanted to order pizza. And I said, "Oh man, I explained it to him. You got to hire people. You got this and that." Blah, blah, blah. Pulled out $20 and threw it in his car. I said, "Here, take this money and tell all your friends to stay the f out of my
Yeah,
shop."
there you go.
Um,
There you
and
go.
he threw the money back out, and his wife was like this, and his kids were like, I said, "Man, I could pay my rent. I could play bocce ball in here. I could play I could play blackjack. As long as I pay my rent, I do my. I'm making it.
Sure.
Don't tell me how to run my business,
Yeah.
man. That's
Yeah.
why I opened my own business,
Yeah.
and
Hey,
that's the problem."
yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I want to tone down a little bit too. Give me some, I mean, it's phenomenal, but give me a couple of hints. What made your pizza so incredible?
Thank you. What made it incredible? As I learned more about dough and having a mother, I'm Polish. My father, Gloshinski. My father's Polish. And I learned Polish food, but a couple things are good. But my mother, the Italian, ooh, her and her sisters, man, they could cook like nobody's business. And I learned from a birth, my palate was developed. And that's something that you can't learn on this right here. You can't learn it on the YouTube. Your
Right.
pizza could look great, but it tastes terrible. You got to have balance. Just because my cheese works doesn't mean it's going to work on your pie,
Sure.
and vice versa. So, years of trying as a special ed teacher, I had the job security. I could do a failure or a success. I had to pay my own way with this thing. They didn't fund me.
Yep.
But within all that, I could have my trial times, and I can go in on the weekends and on all the vacations. And I had all the commercial equipment, and I could play around with every flour, every cheese, every sauce, every temperature, every kind of fermentation I could think of. And I came up with a puzzle where all the pieces fit to my
Okay.
palate.
Sure.
And fortunately, people people liked it, so
Yep.
it worked. But
Yep.
it was years, decades of monkeying around with all different kinds of things, different kinds of yeasts and sourdoughs and cultures and different tomatoes
Yep.
and blah 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 blah, on and on. And I'm almost there. And then bam, I hit. And that's when we opened our shop. And it was really a lot of work, but not the kind of work that most people starting a business encounter.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone first that wants to make great pizza? What would you tell them?
What would I tell them? We're in a new age, Albert. We're in AI. Type in make great pizza recipe. Uh, Go to YouTube. That's everything I wouldn't do. I would say find somebody that has depth in knowledge of dough, of of food. Find whatever it is you want and get on them. That's how I learned my music with the old blues guys.
Yep.
I found them and I banged on their door. I went to where they lived. I said, I'll cut your grass. I'll be your bodyguard. I'll cook your food, man. I want to learn.
Yep.
And that's the apprentice model.
Right.
That
Right.
to me is the way to learn. Because I remember working with Alfredo. He said, feel this, like take the dough, smell it, pull it, the temperature, time of year, um, water temperature of the sink. In the winter, it's like ice. In the summer, it's like a shower water. Uh, all these different factors that you just can't get a recipe and
No.
make it work.
No. That's
It'll be
true.
Joe Blow,
Yeah.
generic at best
Yeah. Gotcha.
pizza.
Yeah.
And we're surrounded today by a new culture of people that don't learn the apprentice way. They may go to a pizza school for a week. Like, I mean, we trained the new owners for 2 weeks. They never made a pizza in their life. I mean, hey, how much you gonna learn in 2 weeks? Enough. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you get with somebody who's got decades and generations of knowledge, then you are going to learn.
Okay. That I think that's just fantastic takeaway advice. I just think that's great. But I do want to get a little bit into Spontobeat. We
Okay.
haven't talked about that. Tell me, what is Spontobeat?
Sponto beat is my life. That's how I do life. People say, you just get up and go. Judy and I decided right up, no kids in our 20s, no kids. Because if I had kids, I would have to honor the kid. I would have to
Right.
have a stable home and all that. And I didn't have the inspiration. So I would have been a crummy parent. So I float. If something turns me on or something excites me, I'm getting up and going. I'm going blindly with no money. I live on the street. That's Sponto beat. I follow my passion.
Right.
And would it be music or pizza? It's the same thing.
Okay.
I had no idea how to make money in pizza. I just said, I'm going to make this much and I'm going to do this. And it worked. I got
Wow.
this kind of
Okay.
spontaneous approach. And I've had crashes too. I mean, not with other ventures that I went into.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but you follow your dreams, follow your heart. I never fit in the pizza world. I mean, I fit in and I liked everybody, but we had such a different approach.
Yep.
The music's the same thing.
Yep.
I got friends, even people who played in my band, world renowned musicians. They could play with me, but they didn't really know Sponto beat
Right.
because it's not what they do. What
Right.
they do is to rehearse songs.
Yep.
So
So
Sponto beat is just close your eyes, see a vision, and walk into it
right.
and sing
So
about it.
right. But what to me, what I find most fascinating about Spontobeat is every beat or every song is different. It's like not a continuation. It's a whole brand new song. So you literally have created
Millions,
thousands, hundreds of
millions,
thousands,
millions, millions. I've
millions
been
of
doing this
songs.
since I've been doing this. My mother said when I was 3 years old, I climbed up on my grandmother's piano that she polished every day. Italian immigrant had her piano, didn't play it, had her kids learn to play it. And then she'd have chocolate. And she said, you would bang on those keys and get chocolate all over the keys. And my mother would go, oh no. And my grandmother would say, I love it. Because when he leaves, I still feel his energy with the,
Yep.
the mark. So I got on instruments as soon as I could get on something to hit.
Yep.
And I always had these visions. I was musically isolated. I had a father that thought going music would be a bad scene because it was all the drugs and everything,
Yep.
back then.
Yep.
So he wouldn't let me play an instrument. And I went to the school band and I said, I want to be in the band. And they said, okay, here's a clarinet. I said, no, I want to play electric guitar. They said, no, you can't do that. Then I say, okay, I go to choir. And the guy says, stick to football because I didn't want to sing the songs.
Yeah.
I
Right.
want to do my thing.
Yep.
And so I started learning to play. I hammered two nails in a 2x4 in the garage in the frame, and I wrapped wire around it, and I ran a screwdriver on it and hit it. When my parents went to work, I would take all the paper bags and the garbage cans, because they didn't have the plastic bags, they had the
Yep.
old shopping bags,
Yep.
put them down gently in the driveway, take the cans in the garage, hang the lids from the ceiling, get some paint stirrers, bang on it. Um, I made sounds like, um, and when a friend gave me a guitar, my father would say, you return that thing or I'm going to bust it. And he busted one.
Yep.
And so I didn't know anything about music. I thought all them records were spontaneous.
Right.
And when I
Okay.
heard Bob Dylan, I said, man, this guy's flowing like he's just shooting it right off. And all my friends were jocks, and I was very athletic. So I didn't really hang with the musician guys, the crew.
Yep.
And that that was really so I created everything in isolation in my own head. I was playing lead guitar and uh, singing. I had band behind me. Everything was in my head, man.
Right.
And finally, when I got a guitar, I see people tuning, so I'm whoom, whoom, pop, the string pops. And like, damn, I don't have money for strings. So I never touched another string on the thing. So I learned to play that guitar by sound. And then when somebody tuned it, I was lost because I learned by sound. And I used to play at a college under a tree. I just bang that guitar, harmonica, and these guys come up to me and they say, we're playing the show tonight. We want you to play. I go, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I get in there, there's like thousands of people. It was the Dead Kennedys. And I opened up their show. And they introduced me as somebody that was very unique. And so the crowd got with me. I only knew one chord. And I
Right.
played for 40 minutes. And it was pure energy. And
Yep.
I was so I just and all the musicians I know, like I said, even the ones that play with me, I'm still isolated when I'm playing with them because they are not tuned into my Spontobeat vision. They're
Yes.
tuned into the sounds and they're
Yep.
backing them.
Yep.
So I've been in isolation all my life with teaching, my approach, music, and pizza.
All right. Walter, really thank you so much for spending time with me. I mean, you got an amazing story and I'd like to do this again sometime and get more in depth in some of the topics that
Oh
we
man,
covered.
the music stories I got, I could tell you Bob Dylan is a fan of my music. Um, I I said no to playing on the Color of Money soundtrack with Eric Clapton and Robbie Robinson, Martin Scorsese's production with Tom Cruise and Paul Newman,
Yeah.
because they wanted me to rehearse.
Yeah.
So I got lots of stories, man,
All right.
that I said no to. Like
All
pizza,
right.
I said no. Teaching, I said no. Follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. Follow your dreams, because we only got X amount of minutes before we're dead,
Yeah.
and we don't know what the next step is. Why waste those precious minutes on things that don't inspire you? Money never will nurture the soul. It doesn't happen that way. Money will distract, but it gets bored real quick and needs more. The soul just needs love and passion and kindness. And that's the way I've tried to live my life. I screwed up 90% of the time, but that was my approach.
Okay. Well, hey, Walter, thanks a lot. How can people find your Spontobeat? Because I know you are online. You do create music all the time.
Yeah, if you go to Walter Torres Spontobeat, just do a search.
All right.
It'll come up SoundClick. And
Yep.
then I think there's about 8,000 songs on there. In fact, I was just doing one before 2 minutes before we got together here. I do 3 hours a day at least of
Wow.
this.
Wow.
But yeah. Yeah, and if anybody out there wants to learn how to do pizza my way, I'm not a Rolodex. I can't teach you Detroit. I can't teach you Roman. I could teach you Walter's Pizza.
Okay.
And I'd love to pass it on to somebody.
All right. Well, let's do that. I'm going to hold you to it. Maybe we can get you
Okay.
talking about it a little bit
Yeah.
more
Well,
in depth.
I can't share. I'm on a non-disclosure for 2 more years.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
All
could
right.
share if somebody wants to open a pizzeria with
Share
outside
some.
100 miles of here.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Hey, Walter, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you taking time with me. And
Yeah,
I'll,
Albert, thank you. And
yeah.
thanks for all you do for pizza and the things you did with the kids. And yeah, we got to turn the camera around. I'll interview you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, my friend. Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you.
Keep
Goodbye.
hope in your heart. Keep on smiling. And keep some hope in your heart. Well, now we got not long. So give it a start.